Hi there, California dermatologist and skin wellness expert Dr. Cynthia Bailey with something actually really important that you need to know absolutely right now after summer, and that is information on melanoma that's new and changing. So, 2 new studies have just come out, and one shows that it's something we dermatologists have known, but I find that many patients don't know, and that is that melanoma, the cancer of moles, often comes brand new, not from an existing mole. So many patients worry about their moles, but actually you have to worry about the stuff in between as well on completely normal skin. So I'm going to talk to you about that because it's really important right now after summer, you know that. And the other study that came out is showing that melanoma incidence is increasing in California, and actually throughout my 30-year career in dermatology, melanoma has been steadily increasing in all age groups, all genders, all socioeconomic groups. So it's important that you know this information, especially right now, because again, in my 30 years of dermatology experience, right now in the Northern Hemisphere, we just finished summer, and I always make more melanoma diagnoses right now in my practice, and many of the diagnoses are incidental. The patients are coming in for other reasons, and I'm like, we need to do a full exam, and I find a spot that's worrisome, and it turns out to be melanoma. And the really important point about melanoma is not to get depressed and stick your head in the sand about it, because if we catch melanoma before it's spread, cut it off, no big deal. If we catch it after it's spread, it's bad. And there's new drugs coming out, but still, you need to know this information right now. So, what is melanoma? Let me go over that first. So melanoma is the cancer of melanocytes. Melanocytes are the pigment-producing cells in the top layer of your skin. They're not the cells that make up your skin. They're little cells scattered in amongst the other cells called keratinocytes that actually make up your hide. So the melanocytes are sprinkled in there. They're your pigment-producing cells. They're grouped in your moles. So moles are little nests of melanocytes, but they're in skin without moles, you have melanocytes. It's how you make a tan. And so melanoma is the cancer of those cells. So one cell mutates, starts growing out of control, and that becomes a melanoma. People at greater risk for melanomas include fair-skinned people, but not just fair-skinned people. People with a history of blistering sunburns, but not just people with a history of blistering sunburns. So certainly we know that if you have, 5 or more sunburns as a kid, you're up to like 80% more likely to develop melanoma. But even people with a lot of cumulative sun exposure, gardeners, contractors, roofers, school teachers that have yard duty, people that enjoy tennis and golf, so cumulative sun exposure. Fair skin puts you at increased risk, and being redhead fair, even heterozygous for redhead fair, meaning you had a ginger in the family and maybe you don't have ginger hair, but you have one of those redhead genes, that puts you at increased risk. And it's not just because of the fair skin, it just happens to be a genetic correlation. We haven't fully figured that one out. Having lots of moles puts you at increased risk, but also having weird moles called dysplastic nevi. So dysplastic nevi are moles that look like melanoma but aren't when we biopsy them. So if you have a lot of moles, if you have dysplastic nevi, you're at increased risk. And if you've had a history of any tanning bed exposure, so a little indiscretion in youth, trying to get a tan for the prom, not good. And means you need to, know this information. So what do you look for when you're looking at your skin and you're deciding, gosh, am I at risk, or do I have something worrisome for melanoma? Oh, hello, Poland. Hey, cool. Thank you for checking in here. So what is it that you look for on your skin? So that one study in Italy looking at a large population of patients or people showed that it's not just your moles. You need to look for all of a sudden the acquisition of a new mole. So we collect our moles in our teens, 20s, and 30s. If you get a new mole after 30, that's suspicious and you need to come show somebody like me. So the presence of a new spot that you think is a mole is something that's worrisome, but also a change in an existing mole. If all of a sudden a mole is itching, red, is getting a halo around it, those are signs to worry about. And then we also teach people when they're doing their self-skin exams, which ideally I tell you to try to do on a monthly basis, you're going to look for the A, B, C, D, E criteria about the morphology of moles, what to look for. So A is asymmetry. We like our moles to be circles and ovals. We don't like willy-nilly shapes. That makes us nervous and is more likely to represent a change that needs to be looked at. B for border. We like a crisp round border. Ambiguity, notching, kind of bleeding in or fading into the skin. Those are worrisome signs. C is color. We like an even color of brown. When there's a haphazard, especially asymmetric arrangement of the color, and especially if there's like red, white, or blue in it, those are, you know, worrisome signs that you'd like to have, you want to go get checked. D for diameter, bigger than a pencil eraser. That's 6 millimeters. Obviously, I just told you melanoma is the mutation of a single cell. So, you know, it starts as one cell, which is imperceptible to the human eye, but nonetheless, if you have a mole that's 6 millimeters or bigger, that's another thing to be looking for. And E for evolution, so a change in an existing mole. If you have a mole that you've had for many years, maybe even a birthmark, that all of a sudden starts growing, changing, fading, getting a scab in it, those are worrisome signs. And then I also tell people there's an ugly duckling sign, kind of a cute name, but not such a cute phenomenon. So we all have our kind of pattern of moles. Maybe your moles are sort of cafe au lait colored, maybe they're more espresso colored, but we all pretty much have our dominant pattern of moles, and the ugly duckling sign is a mole that just doesn't match. So if you're a sort of mocha colored mole person and all of a sudden there's an espresso dot, you want to show that to a trained eye. The other thing is prevention of melanoma. So we know that, you know, melanoma can happen spontaneously. I mean, heck, melanocytes come from the central nervous system. You can have melanoma in your spinal cord or your brain or even in your eyes. But we do know that UV light causes mutation of melanocyte DNA. So you want to get your skin exam, but in addition, going forward, you want to protect yourself from the sun. And so I have a few sort of props to show you what I mean about that. It doesn't just mean smearing some cheapo sunscreen on your skin that you got on sale. That's not enough, because, you know, scalps get melanoma. Backs get melanoma from UV light through clothing. So we teach people to first and foremost cover as much of their skin as possible. My favorite way to cover their skin are Coolie Bar shirts, and my favorite is actually their t-shirt, long sleeved, actually covers the back of most people's hands. And the V-neck looks like it's going to be V-neck, but actually it's a really nice V that doesn't expose the décolleté or the V of the neck. So Coolie Bar is impregnated the cotton with zinc oxide, so it gives you much better sun protection than your standard lightweight fabric that you would be tempted to wear on a hot day. So cover as much of you as you can with this. Create shade with a hat, and the sun hat needs to have a 3 to 5 inch brim. And it needs to cover the top of your head. So there was just a great article, we'll put links in the bottom, a great case that was in the media of a hairstylist who found the melanoma on the head of a woman and saved her life. And that's actually a very common story. So yay, hairstylists, you guys rock. You're really paying attention up there, and you give excellent referrals in my experience. So all of you, remember, cover the top of your head, because surgery up there, not fun. And you know, we have a hat for guys as well, you know, so you want to find 3 to 5 inch brim covering the top of your head, made of UPF 50 fiber. So straw hats, cute, but you know, they better be UPF 50. You want to see that seal of approval on there, that somebody actually tested it and knows the protection. And then your sunscreen needs to be broad spectrum. So again, I said not cheap sunscreen that isn't broad spectrum, and broad spectrum means blocks both UVB and UVA. So sunscreens are pretty good at blocking UVB, but it's that UVA part that gets left out, and this is in the northern hemisphere. We're losing the intensity of our UVB, which is our summer sunburn ray, but UVA is out all day, all year, equally intense, and you darn well need to make sure that sunscreen goes into the UVA spectrum. So it needs to be labeled broad spectrum, and my preference is zinc oxide because it lasts longer, and it's got almost the entire UVA range of wavelengths blocked. It's not perfect, but we don't have perfect at this point, which is why we've got the shade and the clothing. So zinc oxide sunscreens are my preference. And you know, we've got ones in the practice. I mean, I was out this weekend and I was wearing Solbar Zinc in the water. It's a great water resistant product. I've used this for, I don't know, 15 years. I have not burned through Solbar Zinc. Citrix is another good water-resistant product. These are great for swimming. Raw Elements, also water-resistant, great for reapplying to areas where the sunscreen is coming off, and for, you know, fast-running children that need a little reapplication before they're, you know, going back out on the playground. And don't forget your lips. We see melanoma on the lips, another place that you really don't want to have surgery if possible. And then for the scalp, our spray, you can spray it and put it, it's got a very lightweight texture to it, so you can put it in areas like this, but you can spray it on the scalp. So remember, your hair is thinning before you know it. I can't tell you how many patients I see sun damage up here and they didn't know their hair was thinning until it was really obviously thinning, but they were logging that sun damage up there that we then mop up forever, actually. And this is also a great bulletproof sunscreen that's got a dry feel, great for oily and acne-prone skin or humid environments. My personal favorite that's on my face every day, including right now, is Suntegrity. Again, bulletproof. I like to say bulletproof. Zinc oxide. Never have I ever burned through this stuff. And Suntegrity is now making a really awesome lipstick with zinc oxide in it that looks really great. So know what to look for on your skin. Get your skin examined right now after the summer by trained eyes that know what they're looking for. Ask your doctor to teach you about your skin. You know, what is your sort of pattern of moles? What are some things that are masquerading as moles? You know, age freckles, angiomas, barnacles. Some of those things can look to the untrained eye like a melanoma or a mole, and so you want to learn your pattern of moles so that you can find your ugly duckling sign if one happens. And you want to learn how to do your own self skin exams and do them on a monthly basis. You may need to get the assistance of your partner or a friend to look at your back. I'm not going to go into how that might be fun or not, but anyway, somebody needs to be keeping an inventory of your spots. And on the places you can't see, you're going to need to ask for help. And there have been studies in the past in my career I've seen where partners are the ones to pick up the melanomas on the back. And again, early diagnosis before they've spread. It's like, nah, not a big deal, cut it out, it's gone, you know, move on. But if it spreads, meaning it's gotten into lymphatics, blood vessels, etc., it's a whole nother story. So it's the beginning of almost fall here in the Northern Hemisphere. Did you have fun in the sun this summer? Did you get a sunburn? Were you out a lot? For some reason, I always see more melanoma this time of year, so I'm encouraging you to go get a skin exam, learn how to do your own self-skin exams, learn how to do a good one and get a good inventory of your spots on your skin, and then go forward with good sun protection into the future. So that's all. Thanks. Bye.